Welcome to our performance or management information class. My name is Chima, and we are discussing process costing. Now, this is part 2 of our process costing lecture. Now, we ended in lecture number 1, preparing process 2 accounts using the FIFO method. Now we want to calculate or do the same thing using the average method. Now I must warn you that the average method will give you slightly different answer from the FIFO method, and neither of these two methods are correct or more correct than the other. Neither of them are wrong. But you should know the various approaches to solving this problem. Now, we are going to apply the same 2 and 3 statement method when solving this problem. And now let's look at the question again. All right, so we will say this is using the average method. So let's draw a big line here and change the color of our pen. FMC Limited using average method. We are also going to do a 3-step evaluation. So let's start with step number 1. Step number 1 is to prepare a statement of equivalent units. So this is what we'll do. Statement of equivalent units. Just like we did the first time, we are going to do it this way. This is overhead. This is labor. This is material introduced. And this is input material. This is the percentages. And this is units. Then I will say total units. Okay, then this is output. So this is how we are laying them out. Not much of a ruler can rule straight, so forgive me if my lines come out crooked. So let's start. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to ignore opening work in progress when we're accounting for equivalent units. This is because in the average method, we only concentrate on the finished goods and the closing work in progress. So you should know the difference. In FIFO method, we consider the opening work in progress when we are doing the equivalent units. And we only take the equivalent units remaining to be completed. But in the case of average, we don't do that. So we start with the finished goods. So finished goods transferred. We have 45,000 units. According to our question, 45,000 units. Here is it. We are completed and transferred to process 3. So that's what we are using. It means that it was 100%. 100%. So equivalent of 100% is of 45,000 is 45,000. For material, input material, for material introduced is still 45,000. And for labor is still 45,000. And overhead is still 45,000. Okay, so we've done that of finished goods. Then we'll come to closing work in progress. For closing work in progress, we were told the units were 7,000. But we have different stages of completion. For example, in input material, we are told it's 100%. That will give us 7,000. For material introduced, we were told it was 60%. That's it here, 60%. 7 times 6 will give us 42. We did that when we did FIFO, 4,200. Then for labor, we were told it's 50%. 5 times 6 is 30. No, 7,000 times 50% is 3,500. We did that before. And for overhead, we are told is 40%. And 40% of 7,000, 7 times 4, 28, so that's 2,800. So with that, we calculate our total equivalent units. Total equivalent units. Okay, so this will give you 52,000. As we know, this is also 52,000. Input material is 52,000. Then 45 plus 4 should give you 49, 49,200. 49,200. 45 plus 3 is 48. 48,500. 45 plus 2 is 47. 47,800. So this is our equivalent unit. So that's the first one. Now the second will be cost per equivalent unit. Let me use another color. So this is cost per equivalent units. So what's our cost per equivalent units? All right, so what we'll do now is we'll also use the same method. This is going to be overhead. This is going to be labor. This is going to be material introduced. This is input material. So we're going to be bringing a current cost. So the first thing here is to bring cost in opening work in progress. So in the case of cost here, unlike the FIFO method, when we're doing the statement of cost by equivalent, we only use the total cost for the period, right? But in the case of average method, we are also now going to bring the opening work in progress. Remember, we ignore the opening work in progress in the units, but in the cost, we recognize it. So we'll say opening WIP costs. We have them here. We have them as 80,000, 56, 32, and 4. So this is 80,000, 56,000, 32,000, and 4,000. I think that's it, which gave us 172. Okay, so then we will have our current costs in the period. So current period costs. So for input material, the cost you are going to use is 462. 462,000. Then for the rest, you are having 265,200. Then we have 210 and 175,200. So what we have here is 265,200, 210,000. Sorry, 175,200. 175,200. All right. So when you total these together, you have your total costs. Total costs. So let's do that now. Let's get our total cost now. We have 80,000 plus 462,000. That gives me 542. 542,000. The next, okay, so what I will be doing now is I will just be taking them after the one after the other. Then I have my equivalent units. So let me just bring them so that I will be solving it straight. Equivalent unit here happens to be 52,000. So let me write it. $52,000. Let me bring the other one here. 49 200, 48, 500, and 47, 800. Now that I'm done with that, let me proceed. This will become my costs per equivalent units. All right, so I have on my calculator 542. I'm going to divide by 52,000. I'm getting 10.42. 10.42. I'm going to write it down here. 10.42. So this is going to be Naira. 10.42. I will do the second one here. 56,000 plus 265, 200. I'll have 321, 200. 321, 200. Now I'm going to divide by 49, 200. And what I get is 6.53. 6.53. The third one now is 32,000 plus 210,000. That gives me 242,000. 242,000. 242,000. I will now divide by 48,500. That gives me 4.99. 4.99. The last one, 4,000 plus 175, 200. That will give me 179, 200. 179, 200. And now divide it by 47, 800. 3.75. It's going to give me 3.75. So that's it. If you are to add all of them together, let's say you are to add this 10.42 plus 6.53 plus 4.99 plus 3.75, you are getting 25.69. Well, I'll write it somewhere. 25.69. Let's write it down somewhere. Remember when we were doing FIFO, we got something 26. When you add all of these, you are getting 26. And remember, we added them here to get the 26. But I said before, you would have evaluated them, each of them one by one. So in this method, average method, I want to explore that aspect of multiplying them individually. Now that we have done our second, the first one is equivalent unit. Second one is cost per equivalent unit. Then the statement of evaluation. So the statement of evaluation is next. Statement of evaluation. Okay, so how do we do a statement of evaluation? We put our Naira sign here. So we'll start with finished goods. Cost of finished goods transferred. Remember, we were asked to look for the value of the 45,000 units that was transferred. So we can decide that we'll break it down using the several elements of cost, which is input material, material introduced. You can do it that way. Then this is labor and overhead. Now remember, this is 45,000. There's no equivalent unit because it is transferred. 45,000. This is finished goods. 45,000. 45,000. Now, if you multiply by, let's use it, 10.42. This is 6.53, 4.99. And the last one, 3.75. Now, if you can recall, these figures were approximated figures. So for me not to run into problem, I'm going to derive them how it was derived, and I will take everything in my calculator. So I will start with how did I get this 10.42? So instead of using in the exam, you can use the 10.42, but you'll be getting approximated answers, which is going to be correct. They will give you your full marks. But for the purpose of this lecture, I want to use everything in my calculator. So I have 542,000 divided by 52,000. Okay. Stop so far. I'll come back to you. Now, this is statement of finished goods. After finished goods, you will have your total finished goods cost here. Then you will have cost of closing work in progress, which is 7,000. So if you can remember, if you can take them to material introduced, we said it was 7,000 units multiplied by 10.42. Sorry, this input material, not material introduced. This input material. Then we have material introduced. We said it was equivalent of, what was that again? 4,200 was the equivalent. 4,200, if you multiply by 6.53, then we have labor. Labor, we said it was 3,500. 3,500, now multiplied by 4.99. Then overhead, we said it was 2,800 multiplied now by 3.75. So when you get it, the answer should be here. So now let's return to what we are calculating. So I'll be calculating them simultaneously. Now we have 10,000 for 10.42. Remember, put it here. Remember, I'm going to multiply everything here by 45,000. So I have 469,038. 469,038. 469,038. Now, because I multiplied by 45 the first time, I can reset it by dividing by 45,000. It has gone back to the rate I used. Now let me use it to multiply this 7,000. It will give you 72,962. 72,962. 72,962. So let me write it as 72,962. All right. Then let's go to do the second one. The second one, how did we get 6.53? Let's go back. 6.53, how did we do that? We said it was 321,200 divided by 49,200. And we got 6.528, which is 6.53. So we've gotten the full figure in our calculator. So let's use it twice. So we have our 6.53 and 6.53, and let's use it and multiply 45,000 first. So times 45,000. That will give you 293,780. 293,780. 290,780. Sorry. 293. Seven 80. So let's check if it is correct. 293,780. So I'll now divide back by 45,000. That's reset. Now let's multiply by 4,002. It gives you 27,420. 27,420 approximately. So 27,420. Yeah. So let's go to how the third one was derived. This 4.99, how did we get it? Let's take it again. 242,000 divided by 48,500. That gives me 4.99. Okay, so 4.99. So we have it here, 4.99. We multiplied by 45,000. Multiplied by 45,000. Gives you 224,536. 224,536. Let's see. 224,536. Now let's divide back by 45,000 and rather multiply by 3,500. Multiplied by 3,500. That gives me 17,464. 17,464. 17,464. Now let's do the last one. How was that last one derived? $179,200. 179,200 divided by 47,800. It gives you 37.35, which we know. But everything in the calculator is what we are using. We use it to multiply by 45. Multiplied by 45,000. 168,703. 168,703. 168,703. All right, let's divide by 45,000. Okay, now multiply by 2008. So that gives me 10,497. 10,497. 10,497. All right, now that we have that in the bag, let's calculate. Let's start with what we have on our calculator. We have 72,962 plus 27 420 plus 17 464 plus 10,497. Okay, it gives me 128,343. 128,343. 128,343. All right, so let's do the same thing for the top one here. 469,038 plus 293,780 plus 242,242. What am I doing? 224 536 plus 168,703. All right, 1,156,057. 1,156,057. 057. All right. Let's see what would have happened if I add these two together. We were to add these two, 128,343. All right, got in what I want. All right, so let's prepare our process 2 account. Process 2 account. How will you go about preparing it? Now we'll prepare it the normal way we did. So let's start. This is your units, this is your naira, this is your units, and this is your naira. So we have our opening, work in process. It was 10,000. We got that information there, valued at 172,000. 172,000. That's fine. The next thing, just the same way we did in FIFO, we have transfer from process 1. It was 42,000 and the cost was 462,000. 462,000. Then we have conversion. So for conversion, for conversion, 650, 400. So that's 650, 400. think that was all we did. We closed the values here. And here was 52,000. And let's add. Let's take this here. 172,000 plus 462,000 plus 650, 400. 1,284, 400. 1,284, 400. So let's come back here. We have transfer to process 3. We said it was 45,000. And we have even valued it. We have valued it 1156,057. 1156,057. 1156,057. All right. The next one is closing stock. And I have 128,343. 128,343. So this is closing WIP. We said it was 7,000. 128. Let me write it again. Let me even look at it. 128,343. 128,343. So 52 has been accounted for